Well, good afternoon, South Florida, and welcome back to Unlock Your Momentum. I'm Giovanna, your host, but more especially, I am your human behavior hacker. And if this is your first time listening to us, welcome. And if you've been here before, please say hello. Now, you know that if you have listened in prior, we have been doing a segment called F Your Fear. And you know exactly what that word stands for. And why? Because fear is masked in so many different ways, and it's one of the things that stops us from actually showing up and executing and doing the things that we know to do because we do have all the answers. Now, in the past, we've done financial fear, we've done career fear, and we've done physical and mental fear. But today, with my guest today, I am so excited to bring you yet another topic around fear, and that is, where does fear start? And what can we do, and what should we know? So with that, I want to go ahead and introduce you to our guest today. Welcome her, please. She is the owner and founder of the company Stop Parenting Alone. And I'm going to let you tell you a little bit more about herself, her title, and specifically what she does. So please welcome Lina.
Hello, hello. Yes, so I am Lina Acosta Sandaal. I am a psychotherapist and a child development expert. Stop Parenting Alone is a parenting education and a psychoeducational consulting program that I run here in Miami. I work with parents, with teachers, with coaches, because what I want is for all those that work with children, you know, all those that work with those new souls that come into our lives, to have the information that they need to make the best choices around their caregiving. You know, I like to say that my mission is for caregivers to fall in love with their journey of caregiving. Because so often teachers, coaches, parents in particular are engulfed in fear of messing up their child. And I know that, you know, the number one way to get rid of fear is to get the facts. And I find that, you know, for me, I am, you know, a truth teller, and a truth teller in the service of love.
Wow. So thank you for all of that, because you just gave us a lot there. So I'm going to step back and we're going to kind of break that up into small pieces, because again, you gave a lot of information there that I think is very important to kind of, again, divide up and start talking about. But before we do that, we want to know a little bit more about you. Who's Lina? Tell us where you're from.
Well, I am I like to tell people that I'm a gringa colombiana.
I love it.
Because I am, you know, my family is Colombian. I was born in Colombia, but I was brought to the United States when I was 7.
Okay.
Right. So, I'm neither from there or from here. I'm a bridge between these two cultures. And that actually is a big part of who I am. You know, the ability to see things from a broader way, right, has kind of helped me do things through the way. Ending up with a master's in clinical psychology was because I'm crazier than most parents. And I had my 2-year-old daughter, and I switched careers. And really, you know, bottom line, I was so scared of messing her up that I'm crazier than most. And I went and got a master's in clinical psychology. And then I did a specialty in infant mental health. And then I did a specialty in child development. And I did a specialty in trauma and blah, 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 blah. She's 17 now. I did not break her. And I also have a son.
Okay.
So I'm a mother. I'm a wife. And, you know, I find that as a human being, it's what I said before. I've always been a truth teller. That has gotten me in trouble, and that has also been my greatest strength. And I use that really honestly to kind of let others know how to be in relationship.
Now, you've said a certain statement twice already that's caught my attention. And before we kind of go back to the root of fear and where it starts, which we know it starts as children, you said that, you know, one of the things that we fear as parents, new parents, upcoming parents, in whatever way we're parenting our children, we don't have to be biological to them, right? It could, like you said, it's a caretaker. you said the statement of that we're afraid that we're going to mess our kids up. Interesting enough, what I usually find myself telling others is, look, you're going to mess your kids up regardless, because they're the ones that are going to come up with their own beliefs, regardless of how healthy the environment is. Now, you say it one way, I say it another. What is contradictory to maybe the way that I say it in saying you're going to mess them up anyway, where you're saying we're afraid to mess them up? What comes up for you when I say that?
That we all need to stop thinking that we have some control over somebody else's evolution.
Ooh, that's so strong. That we don't have control over other people's evolution.
No.
Oh, that's very powerful.
So what's important is, we're both in both of our statements, we're afraid to mess children up. That's kind of like the primal fear of caregiving, or, hey, you're going to mess them up anyway, so just, relax. We're both giving them the same statement, which is it's important to see and honor the person that you're guiding first and foremost.
Okay.
Right? And it's important that none of us, no matter whether we're a parent or somebody's lover or a teacher or a boss, somebody else's mood is not our business.
Okay.
So our business in caregiving, as all of the above, let's just kind of set the stage that it should be caregiving, is about how do you show up, connect, and create safety for that person to be able to relate to you.
Okay. So with that, I believe that you have just laid down the foundation as parents, which is really critical. But now I want to turn it over to the child side and help our audience understand a little bit more and take them back to their own childhood on how it is to be a kid and what are the things that come up that start creating this fear. Because as small humans, we don't know what that is yet. And interesting enough, I heard recently that by 3 years old, we have learned time, meaning what's present and what's past, that by 3, we learn to lie. And I can't remember the third one.
At 2, they're already lying.
At 2, they're already lying. Okay. So I didn't mean to take us off subject, right? I didn't mean to take us off subject. But let's take them down. Let's go stroll down memory lane as far as being a kid.
Okay. Let me break it up into 2 buckets. So I'm going to do the bucket of this is what we know about child development, which is very much linked with brain development, right? And then you're now 52 years old, right?
Okay.
Okay, so first and foremost, feelings are just as, feelings are a reflex, just like our sensory system, just like digestion, just like your heart beating, right? It happens. Okay, so I want to set, first and foremost, let's define that. Every single human being arrives on the earth with the ability to feel. So everybody out there, I'm going to say this directly to the camera. If you're trying not to feel something, that is a worthless goal. It's absolutely impossible not to feel fear. Now, feelings have, and this is the brain part of it, right? Feelings have 2 things, right? One, the physical manifestation of feelings, and then every memory of that feeling that we've ever had, and this is where parenting comes in, and this is where development comes in, and then that memory becomes a belief. Okay, so when you are an infant, you feel uncomfortable because you're hungry, because you're sleepy, because you're tired, because you need somebody to hold you and love you and make you feel secure. Right? So that's the first time that we might feel fear if you listen to the person that tells you you're going to spoil the baby. We're supposed to be held and soothed out of the nervous system response of fear. There's absolutely nothing wrong with fear. If nobody hears anything else that I say today, fear is not your enemy. It's the action that you take after fear bubbles up that makes or breaks you. So the most important thing is to accept that fear is like blinking. Fear is actually the way that the brain understands, right? If there is danger in the space.
And that's what I just understood from you, because as I was listening to you speak, I said to myself, well, wait a minute. We are going to feel fear. So one of the things that we can do as parents is already be at peace with that and understand that where now we help our children navigate through the fear, through the love, the safety, the belonging, and the love that we are to give to them.
But here's the rub.
Ooh, I'm ready. Love it.
So 0 to 5, children are not broken yet, because the broken people are us, the 50-year-olds, the 60-year-olds, all of, with all our memories of every time we felt afraid, right? And what we did to not feel that way.
Okay.
So little people, when they're afraid, they scream. When they're afraid, they avoid the dark room. When they're afraid, they don't do the math homework because they might mess up. And we, the adults, are telling them how to define that.
Oof.
And that's the rub. And if you have a negative relationship with fear, right? So if every time you're afraid, you avoid the thing that makes you afraid, or if every time you're afraid, you get angry and you blame others, or if every time you're afraid, you drink a bottle of wine, how in the world are you going to teach this new human in the world what to do with fear? And since you have the power to control them, because we're not really controlling them, you will attempt to stop the child from feeling fear. And that's not what is supposed to happen. What is supposed to happen is for us to take that moment, accept that fear is here, pick up the baby and say, hey, yeah, it's scary that dog barked, but the dog barked because you took its food. Or, hey, yeah, it's scary to do that math homework because it's the first time that you're learning multiplication tables. Or, hey, yeah, it's scary that I'm asking you to get off the social media because you're wondering what you're going to miss out on. But that we don't do that. We're like, knock it off.
Yeah.
Figure it out.
Yeah.
Stop.
Yeah.
That's what we do. And we do that because we don't have a good relationship with fear.
And listen, you're giving me so much information that talk about just the reminder of that we're constantly learning, evolving, growing. And look, I think I've known what you've told me, but what you just said, I went, oh, I didn't know that, right? Because again, we're not taught in life in how we should. We're taught through books in that we must make a certain grade, all that. We're not going to get into that. But I'm looking at it and going, wow, I get that. So talk about communication, talk about relationships within families, all of that. Now, I'm curious, how early do we have feelings?
From the moment you come onto the earth.
Okay.
Because the reflex of feelings bubbling up is a 90-second synapse in the brain. A minute and a half. So here's a little hack, since we like hacks,
yes.
Right? The next time you're feeling an enormous emotion, open your put your feet on the ground, open your phone, turn on the timer, and wait and breathe and label it. I'm disappointed. And watch the clock go through 90 seconds. And then notice how that feeling flows through your body. And notice whatever thoughts pop in your mind. But don't follow it. Just
Correct.
Be the observer and do it for 90 seconds.
Correct.
Because if you don't, then your brain takes over, it becomes automatic, and
Correct.
it tells you the story that, oh, disappointment means I have to quit this job and I'm never going to talk to that boss, and you know what, I'm going to go buy a purse. Rather than, ooh, oh, I can't breathe. Oh, wow, I really want to drink. Oh, I'm really disappointed. Oh, this is the 51st time that I'm disappointed. Maybe I need to quit. And then when we do that, then we jump to the next fear of like, oh, then I have to take action, and oh my God, and then that's a whole bundle. That's in the adult world.
Correct. Then you're compounding it.
Correct. And then, but in childhood, the best thing to do with a little person that's telling you that they're afraid or they're disappointed or they're angry, and a lot of the time their disappointment and anger is with you. Because you are setting we're supposed to set boundaries, and they're supposed to have an emotional response to your boundary.
Whether they agree with it or not.
And it's not about agreeing or disagreeing. It's, hey, we got to turn off the TV because we're going to go take a bath. And most, 4 to 8-year-olds are like, ah.
Yes.
And then we try to discipline emotion. You're not supposed to discipline emotion. You just go, give it a minute, give it a 90 seconds, but let's walk to the bathroom.
Wow. Okay. A lot there to intake. And no, but thank you for that, because we're not taught these things. And it's not that we can pick up a news article or we're getting this on TV. It's through finding resources like yourself to say, I want to get educated. I want to know better because of my own fears or what's going around. Versus, I believe sometimes by the time that they come to you, they're coming because there's an issue, right, that they want solved. So I think that would be one of the first things that I would really throw out there to the audience to say, stop right now and think about what is something that's been on your mind. And before it becomes an issue or you're starting to feel some type of feelings, how can you educate yourself before you get to the end result or before it becomes something else than what it is now?
Right. And in the trajectory of my work as a psychotherapist, I ended at the place of working with parents and opening a space where I only work with parents and caregivers, right? Because it is a prevention model. Mondays and Tuesdays, I am at schools and I am at preschools helping teachers and parents understand the development of a child. Right? So the piece that we learned in the decade of the brain, which was the 90s, that's when we really started studying like the brain and what it does. And, I like to say that right now in neurology, we're kind of like Columbus. We know that there's something over there.
Okay.
We think we're going to go to India to get spices, but we actually don't know where we're going to be. So the map of the brain that we have right now is as minimal.
Oh, wow.
As when, Columbus thought he was going to go the other way and get to India faster, right? That's the story, right? That's a simple story. Like, we're mapping the brain and we're understanding more and more and more about the brain, but we're in infancy of neurology.
Well, and when you say infancy of neurology, what I think about is that we don't really have an idea of what we're capable of truly. Because if we're at the infancy of this studying and knowing exactly the brain, and
here's the thing, right? It's important to understand that still to today, because we don't speak enough about learning how to manage our emotional world, and every time I say that, I get scared that people are misreading what I am saying. Managing your emotions doesn't mean that you try not to feel it. That is impossible. I will repeat that 100 times. That is impossible. Managing your emotions is accepting first. Hey, wow, I'm really scared. And then remember 90 seconds. And then allowing the other things to bubble up, because our brain loves to time travel. The brain, what it does automatically is use past information and past experiences to make sense of what's happening presently. So it's very important for you to make a decision about your fear of 2023 outside of the fear that you felt in 1986.
Ooh, yeah, which if you took a look at it, they're probably very similar.
Yes, of course.
It hasn't changed. So that's another message, is it's time to change that fear and the way that you look at it. Now, what has popped into my mind right now that I want to talk to you about is gender, because you just brought up feelings, emotions. And today, my clientele is predominantly men, CEO level men. And we know what is happening with men today and what our society is doing. And it goes back to children and how little boys and little girls are told differently about their feelings and emotions. Yep. Do you see that changing today, or is it still something that presents those challenges that we're seeing older men now not having those outlets because it's seen as a weakness? Sorry.
So the gender binary, right, describing human characteristics as male or female, to me is kind of like the final frontier for us to grow as a species.
Okay.
And let me give you some stats. Boys, as early as kindergarten, are told by society still not to feel sad, not to be lovable, not to feel scared, and with loving messages of, but you're strong, but you're brave, right? And those are, and which is silly because they're human. And I just told you that feelings are 90-second synapse in the brain, right? So we're all scared and we all feel love. Girls get told not to be angry, not to be courageous, to choose relationship above individual success at 12. So girls have a longer time feeling the full spectrum of emotions than boys.
Okay.
Right? So if you are out there raising a boy, or you are, with a boy, please understand that we're still in the middle of this. So telling them it's okay to be sad sometimes comes off as a lie, because that's not what the big, broader culture is saying. So it's better to say, I know that they've told you that it's not okay to cry because it's not strong and that doesn't make you a boy. But if you really need to cry, let's find a space. Let's find, because right now we can't just tell a boy to cry.
Yeah.
We're making them a social pariah. Unfortunately, but we have to slowly, as parents, as caregivers, change that. Now, another thing that I want to say that is really unpopular, so go ahead, type in your comments, tell me I'm crazy. That's okay, I understand. I'm a truth teller. I'm a truth teller.
Yes.
Right? Why most people avoid fear is that a lot of us were disciplined with fear-based discipline.
Yes, that's
true. We were
true.
screamed at. We were insulted. Some of us were hit. TikTok is chock full of chancla culture, ay, la chancla, and it's funny. But that's why most people avoid feeling fear, because feeling fear represents a disconnection from somebody you love. Feeling fear represents being in danger. Because when you're a young child and you're afraid of the roller coaster, or you're afraid of the dark, or you're afraid of your math homework, and somebody responds to you by rejecting you and telling you, enough, you're supposed to do your homework, do as I say. Now you just made that fear even worse.
Yeah.
So,
and it's so hard as a parent, though, to be so aware of when you're doing that, because you just said that, and I just went through my Rolodex in my head going, oh my goodness, I have done that to my kids. I have said that. And I'm like, but I don't mean to.
No.
So talk about awareness regulation and really being intentional and saying, the time that I have around my kids during the day, here's how I'm going to show up, and here's what I am going to be conscious of. Now, one of the things that I do with my kids, which I'm so glad that you brought that up, is that the other day I was talking to another young lady that's a friend of my daughter, and I said, you know what I do with my kids, that let's say that they call me because I need to pick them up, they've done something wrong, because I have that relationship where I say, look, doesn't matter what it is, you call me. Yep. But here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you 24 hours. I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to let you be. I'm going to give you your space. And I took that from a friend that I grew up with a long time ago, because to me it was that fear, right? They're going to be scared to call me. They're going to be scared that they're going to get in trouble. And so I created this 24-hour like space where I'm like, okay, you're not going to hear anything from me, but in 24 hours, we're going to come and talk.
And again, fear-based parenting, where we hit them, we threaten them, we scream at them. You know, it's been a while since we've been telling parents to do it differently, right? And you know, and what you did with your children is wonderful, because you allowed for both of you to get out of the feeling reflex. Right? When we're in the midst, when we're overwhelmed with emotion, when we're very, very scared or very, very angry as a parent, it's like a phone roaming.
Yeah.
It's like the phone doing this, right? So if your phone, right, if your feeling is doing that, there's no way that you're going to be able to discipline, because discipline comes from the root word, which is discipla. Your child is your disciple.
Wow.
Discipline is not to hurt. Discipline is to teach and guide. So giving yourself and your child 24 hours to then go back, now you could look at the situation with your body being at peace rather than angry or scared or sad, and then looking back and saying, what happened? Now, Lina, oh my God, you're asking me to be perfect. I'm never going to be able to do that, so I'm just going to be a bad parent. No, you're going to allow yourself to be human, right? I always tell the parents in my consultations, listen, follow the 70-30 rule. And that's a made-up ratio that I made up, but it gives people like numbers, right? 30% of the time, you are going to be awful. Okay. Awful. You're like, I too have braked really hard and my children have hit the back of their head. I was like, I too have screamed at my babies, right? But that 30% is because we are human and we get stressed out and we don't eat and we don't sleep and the brain just reacts. Yeah. Right? But 70% of the time, I am going towards that North Star of I am a guide, I am a mentor, I am here to teach you how to be human. Right? And when we get into that 30%, the most beautiful thing you could do for your child is to go to them and say, you know what, buddy? I was really frustrated. Yeah. And I forgot to breathe. And I forgot to walk away. And I used mean words. Every single parent on earth asks me how to build self-esteem for children. Self-esteem is not built with positive affirmations. Do you want me to repeat that?
Wow.
Self-esteem is not built by positive affirmations. Self-esteem is built by experiences, esteemable experiences. Pushing through the fear and getting on stage and reading a poem. Pushing through the but feeling the fear and doing it anyway, and then coming out on the other side is what creates the esteemable moment. And also feeling that somebody with so much authority and so much power thinks of me enough for them to apologize to me.
Wow. Wow, 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 wow. That's all I have to say. Lina, we can go on forever with this topic. I had a feeling you need your own show podcast. Seriously. But before we leave, how does this audience get a hold of you? How do they find you? Because you gave so much value today. It's unbelievable. And I thank you so much for it.
Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, website, Stop Parenting Alone, stopparentingalone.com. You just go to stopparentingalone.com. That's the website. Go to the bottom. You can go to all the Instagrams, Facebooks, YouTube's information. Every Monday and Wednesday, we put up little tiny quotes of like little sound bites like I did today. So, and also me, you can follow my world and what I do both professionally and as a mother at Parenting Expert.
Okay.
at Parenting Expert on Instagram. And every once in a while, if you speak Spanish, I'm on Telemundo.
Oh.
I do the morning show, and they ask me all sorts of wonderful questions about parenting, so you can catch me on Hoy Día.
Oh, that is wonderful. Lina, so grateful for you today. So much for stopping by. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I mean, the value was just beyond golden. Thank you for coming. Thank you, thank you. Oh, South Florida, I have no words. We've been doing this series on fear, and honestly, our guest today, Lina, just hit the bullseye on everything. So fear is inevitable. So embrace it, know it, accept it, work through it, because it's not here to stop you, but to teach you. So with that, I say thank you. We'll see you next time on Unlock Your Momentum. Bye.